pull a cow. Everywhere I go, my 2A come. When I'm at church, my 2A come. When I protest, my 2A come. You don't want to test cause the 2A dumb. Everywhere I go, my 2A come. When I'm at church, my 2A come. When I protest, my 2A come. You don't want to test cause the 2A dumb.
Respect my 1A. Try to attack me, then that be a dumb play. Try to take 2A that only ends one way. I mean, we got it that one day. I'm a gun tone patriot. I exercise my 2A. They ain't taking mine. I don't knock what the news say. Tell them Tifa that it better tighten up their shoelace. I'm hot, better get some water. When Bobby Boo shake day. Karma always come out like a boomerang. Y'all making sense and saying nothing like it's booty tang. Touch my hat, click, clap, let it truly bang. Act tough on the internet, it's no computer game. Think I winning now, but the Patriots should truly reign. You can stupid process every time you play a stupid game. And media controls you. I am not a person to be tamed. I'm looting in the streets, but is there really something to be gained?
2A is a blessing. Don't test cause I do spray when it's threatened. Come take my possession. You don't wanna play, bang bang, do the flexing. You cross the line, y'all are foul. Kill the innocent and smile. Y'all about to make me pull a cow.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of the Johnny Ray Show. I know that it's a little delayed. We had a lot of technical difficulties over the last week or so, but we're back. We're here. Joe Biden takes a bit of a spill getting up on Air Force One, which prompted a whole lot of social media laughable memes. He also had his very first press conference since inauguration, which was 68 days ago now at this point, 65 days before the actual press conference. Had a couple of shootings, one in Atlanta and one in Boulder, Colorado. We'll take a look at those a little bit. That's what prompted the hashtag #GunReformNow to take over social media and the media cycling, as well as a little bit of a dive into H.R. 127, which is the bill for gun reform that they're looking to pass. Now, we won't go too in-depth with it. It's just going to be kind of an overview. I will have an in-depth dive into H.R. 127 behind the paywall, so make sure and stay tuned for that. All that and more on this episode of the Johnny Ray. Thank you and welcome back to this episode of the Johnny Ray Show. Joe Biden has been called a lot of things. He's been called Slow Joe, dementia. He's been called everything you could think of, and he's argued against it quite a bit. You can't argue against the fact that he fell up the stairs getting onto Air Force One 3 separate times. 3 separate times. Now, I know what you're thinking. Things can happen. It's true. A lot of things can happen. Here's my problem with this, though, is that for months and months and months during Trump's presidential administration, the left, and Joe Biden specifically, mocked President Trump because he slowly walked down a ramp while it was raining. Okay? They mocked him relentlessly. Everybody across the left, all the late night hosts, all the left CNN anchors, Joe Biden himself said specifically, he slowly walks down the ramp and I run up the stairs, and then he fell down walking up the stairs. So this prompted memes all across social media. I'm going to show you just some of the best memes that I saw. Question of the day: if you have memes for the Joe Biden falling up the stairs, send them to me. I want to see them. If they're funny enough, if I like them enough, I will put them on the next episode. So send me all the memes. Send me every one of them. I want to see all of them. Tag me on Twitter. Tag me on Facebook. Send them to me on my email. Send them to me on TikTok for all I care. Just get them to me. I want to see them. Take a look.
Whoops. What the hell? Aw, screw it. I swear the Russians hacked the stairs. Yay, I did it. They should really install one of those elevator chair things.
Come on. Come on. Come on, man. That's a bunch of malarkey.
Joey, up the stairs, but watch out for that sniper fire! No, get down! They're still shooting! Get down! Just fucking with you. Get up, you dumb bastard. Head on up the stairs, turn around, salute the Marines, and do it this time, don't say it! Good boy, Joey, now get in the plane. Jesus Christ.
Come on, man.
I mean, I think that this proves that the conservative side of social media has always been the funner side, the more comical side. The left, they try to meme, but they can't. And this proves they can't meme. We can. It's great. But I'm going to show you a little bit of what the left said about Donald Trump. And then I'm going to show you what the left is saying about the Joe Biden falling up the stairs. Here is the first clip, and this is James Gordon at Late Night with James Gordon, whatever his show is called. And you take a look for yourself. This is what he had to say about Trump.
Number one. On Saturday, President Donald Trump gave the commencement address at West Point, and Twitter went absolutely bonkers over this slow walk down a ramp as he left the stage. Now, to be clear, we didn't add that music. I know it might seem like we didn't know. Those flutes playing, they were mocking him all on their own. Now, for months, President Trump has refused to wear a mask out of fear he might look foolish. And all it took was a slight decline to make him look foolish. And of course, the president remained cool and classy after the video was released. I'm kidding. He went to Twitter.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He walked down a ramp slowly. Oh no. What will we ever do as Americans? Shut up. Shut up. He was walking slowly because it was wet. I wouldn't want to fall on my ass on public television. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Donald Trump had not had anybody help him, had he not walked slowly down that ramp, had he slid down that ramp, landed on his ass, busted his head, whatever, he would have been called the laughing, he's already called the laughing stock of the presidencies because the left can't handle the fact that there was somebody from the right who did something good. They can't handle that. But could you imagine how worse off he would have been if he'd have slid down that ramp and landed on his ass? 100 times worse. But it didn't stop there. The great Stephen Colbert decided he wanted to get in on it. and he wanted to talk about it. Take
Trump
a listen.
delivered the commencement address at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Because who better to inspire new members of our military than a draft dodger? Congratulations, suckers. You guys got to get better dads. The most suspenseful moment of the speech was when Trump attempted to quench his thirst.
I hereby absolve all cadets on restriction for minor conduct offenses, and that is effective immediately. Congratulations.
That continues to be weird. I know he famously has never had a cocktail, but he still clearly has a drinking problem. Okay, here we go. We're going in. It's sippy time. Here we go. Lips are ready, pursed and dry. Lips are ready, and not gonna make it. Let's bring in some backup. There you go. Okay, here we go. Thanks, fellas. Great job. I call these guys SEAL Team Sip. But Trump finished strong, if by strong you mean frail, because this is how he exited the stage after his speech. Now we know why he launched his 2016 campaign coming down an escalator. If it had been a ramp, he'd still be coming down.
I don't. It's like all of these little late night hosts all have like a little Zoom meeting, right? They all had a little Zoom meeting, and they were all like this, like, okay, guys, look, Donald Trump did something, okay? He did something, so let's all talk about it. Okay, so, Jimmy, what are you going to say? Yeah, that's great. You suck. Yeah. No, not you suck. He sucks. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Okay, Steven, what are you going to say? Oh, yeah, that's great. You're going to talk about him walking slowly down the ramp. That's great. So am I. Okay, so we're all coordinated. Here on what we're going to say. You guys are all retarded. Period. Done. End of story. You're all fucking idiots. Okay? Here's Jimmy and what he had to say. I think his was the worst because he used to be funny. Stephen Colbert never really was funny, in my opinion. I don't think he was funny in a lot of people's opinions, honestly. James Gordon, really the only reason that he's got a show is because he's the fat gay guy of late night. So, Jimmy Kimmel used to be funny. I remember a time when Jimmy Kimmel made me laugh so much that I cried. And then he became woke, and he's
Remember when
not
Trump
funny
made
anymore.
fun of Marco Rubio drinking water? It's Rubio! That's what it... Oh, he's so talented. That is from the Spray Tan Collar Comedy Tour. And then, as if the water thing wasn't weird enough for one speech, he took a very strange walk down a ramp. Did you see this? Show that clip. Hold on. No, I think that's the wrong clip. No, I need the clip of the president from West Point on Saturday. This was a big topic online this weekend. So after his speech, you can see there he is, he shakes hands with the lieutenant general, who then gives him a wave, and then down he goes, very slowly tippy-tapping down the ramp, tentatively, like he's walking barefoot on sharp rocks. And maybe the bone spurs are acting up? Everybody's wondering what was going on. And we found out when he got to the bottom of the ramp, it turns out he still had his clown shoes on, so.
Okay, so he had his first press conference, and I don't think anybody had high hopes for this press conference, honestly. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be a Trump press conference. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be, mind-blowing. It was going to be, Mr. President anymore. And that was clearly evident in the first few moments of the press conference when Joe Biden seemed to have notes on who was asking questions and what they were going to ask about. Take a look. This is a quick overlay of every time that he went to a new journalist for their question, he was looking at his paper trying to figure out what their name was because he had the list in front of him. And
I'll be happy to take your questions. Zeke, Associated Press. Okay. How about Yamish? Okay. Hang on. Sorry. Oh, Singman, Miss Kim. Ken. Okay, Kristen. Okay, hang on a second here. Kristen, Nancy, CBS. Okay, where am I here? Let me see. Caitlin? Justin.
I mean, in the entire 4 years, and Donald Trump was doing press conferences every day for, almost 5-6 months during the COVID pandemic last year. I don't think I ever once saw him look down at notes to figure out what person was gonna ask a question. I don't think I ever saw him look down at notes at all, but that's just me. I mean, he was always off the cuff. And I guess we took that a little bit for granted once Joe Biden came in, because Joe Biden can't remember what he had for breakfast, and that was 10 minutes ago. So he has to notate, because otherwise, how's he gonna remember what his name is? So the first clip that I want to show you is probably the most indicative of what Joe Biden's presidency is going to be for however long he lasts. But the 4 years, I'm gonna give him the credit for now for the 4 years, and that is that help is here. The government's here to help. Take a look.
But I can say to you, the American people, help is here and hope is on the way.
Oh my God, the pandemic, and I'm broke. I can't go to work. I have to be stuck in this house. I have to wear this mask on my face. Yeah, we're here from the government. We're here to help. I don't no. I don't like that help. I don't want that help. And Ronald Reagan said it best, that the worst thing that you can hear as a American citizen is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
And that's exactly what we're leaning to. That's exactly what we're pushing to. We're pushing to the government is going to get into everybody's business. Next, Joe Biden wouldn't be Joe Biden without taking credit for something somebody else done. He's done it his entire political career. In 1988, the year that yours truly was birthed into the world, he had to drop out of the presidential race because he was plagiarizing other people's speeches, and he got caught. He had to drop out. I mean, that is a huge thing. I mean, plagiarism in high school when you're trying to write an essay on, how your dad changed your life or some crazy crap. That's one thing. Like, that's for school. That's not a huge deal. But when you plagiarize, when you take and you rip sections of other famous political people's speeches, put them as your own, and say that you wrote it, that's a problem. Now, of course, Joe Biden took complete credit for the vaccines, which is super weird because he got a vaccine before he was inaugurated. But he won't talk about that. Let's see what he had to say about the vaccines.
On December 8th, I indicated that I hope to get 100 million shots in people's arms in my first 100 days. We met that goal last week by day 58, 42 days ahead of schedule.
Joe. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Trump had the vaccines before you came into office. Spoiler alert. I don't know if you know. Anyway, so he then went on to tout about how he had a new goal. See, his previous goal was the what was it? 100 million in 100 days. Now he says that because he passed that he wants to do 200 million in 100 days. So it took him 65 days to hit 100 million. Okay? That leaves 35 days before you get to 100. He wants to get another 100 million in exactly half the time that it took him to get the first 100 million. I don't think that's going to work. I'm curious. I know at least one person that's not going to get it, and that's me. So here he is talking about his new goal for the vaccines.
Now today I'm setting a second goal, and that is we will, by my 100th day in office, have administered 200 million shots in people's arms. That's right, 200 million shots in 100 days. I know it's ambitious, twice our original goal, but no other country in the world has even come close, not even close to what we are doing. I believe we can do it.
And that's great. That's great. If he can get 200 million people, 200 million shots, great. That's on him. I don't think it's feasible. Just time-wise, just looking at how long it took to get the first 100 million and so on, I don't see it happening. But maybe I'm wrong. I just know I'm not going to get it. Nobody that I know is going to get it because it's to us it's not necessary. To me personally, it's completely unnecessary because why would I take a vaccine to fight off a virus that I have very little chance of getting anyway, and even if I do get it, I have a 99.97% chance of A, surviving, or B, not even knowing I have it. That's just me though. So the next thing was the Joe Biden. I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that Joe Biden does, a lot of gaffes that he does that some are, I think, just done on accident. I think some are kind of purposefully done. I'm not sure which one this was, but it isn't a huge part of this press conference. It was just something funny I saw that I noticed. And then when watching it back, it made me laugh even more, is the loss of audio while he was talking. It was almost perfect timing. It was hilarious. Take a look.
The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters. The folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters.
It was just such perfect timing. It looked like he was acting in a kung fu movie because he was talking but no audio was coming out. It was great. Anyway, okay, so the next thing that I saw that I noticed, and this press conference, what makes it great for me is that Donald Trump's press conferences when he was talking about COVID were like hour and a half, 2 hour, 3 hour long press conferences where he was just yanking questions and shooting folks down. Fake news here, you're fake news, all that stuff. Joe Biden was scraping by to get an hour. And as we progress, you'll see at the very beginning he was pretty sharp. He looked normal. He looked like a normal president would. By the midway, by about right here, maybe just after, he started declining. He started going down. And by the end, he was gone. He didn't know where he was. He couldn't tell you what his name was. He couldn't tell you what pants he was wearing. And that is the problem for me because, and Trump alluded to it through the entire campaign, is that Trump could stand on his feet and fireball back and forth with people for hours, never get tired, never fluster, never stumble. Joe Biden can't do it for 30 minutes. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so Joe Biden said he came out with why he was elected. He was elected to solve problems.
Now I'll be happy to take your questions. Zeke, the Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned your progress on COVID-19. I'd like to ask you about some of the other issues facing your presidency. One of the defining challenges you face in the coming months is how to deliver on your promise to Americans on issues like immigration reform, gun control, voting rights, climate change. All of those right now are facing stiff, united opposition from Republicans on Capitol Hill. How far are you willing to go to achieve those promises that you made to the American people?
Well, I'm good. Look, when I took office, I decided that it was a fairly basic, simple proposition, and that is I got elected to solve problems.
And there you have it. 85 million people. More votes than Barack Obama. Most highly anticipated president. The most voted for president. Most popular president. Joe Biden. What? No. I completely reject that theory. Completely reject it. Anyway, so then he was asked about immigration on the border, and there are two very silly things that he said here, and the first one was that young children are sent across vast miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of foreign countries to get to the United States. That they walked thousands of miles to get here alone, by themselves, no help at all, with a wristband attached to their wrist with a phone number for the United States and the Immigration Customs Enforcement to call their parents back in their home country. Can't make this stuff up, guys. Can't make it up at all. Take a listen.
The vast majority of people under the age of 18 come to the United States come with a telephone number on a wristband, or come with a telephone number in their pocket in the United States. A mother, a father, a close relative, a grandmama or grandpa. What was happening before is it's taking literally weeks and weeks and maybe even months before anybody pick up the phone and call to see if there really was someone there. Well, we've set up a system now where within 24 hours there's a phone call made as that child crosses the border. And then a verification system being put in place as of today to determine quickly whether or not that is a trafficker being called or that is actually a mom, a dad, and or a close relative.
Bring, bring. Hello? Yeah, is this, Alejandro? Is this Alejandro? Sí, Alejandro, sí. Yeah, we have little Juan here. He came to our country. He was at the border. He had this number on his wrist. Are you a legal guardian? Sí, Juan, sí. Oh, okay. Well, all right then. You must be his parent. All right, let's go. That's not how this works, people. It's not how this works. Anybody could say they're a parent. Anybody. It doesn't take a rocket genius to lie over a phone call. So, I'm not sure what making phone calls back to their home country is going to do for them. I'm confused by the entire analogy. So, if you're going to keep them here, why are you calling their parents? And if you're not going to keep them here, why are you calling their parents? Just send them back. If their parents wouldn't trek across thousands of miles to get to the border with them, what makes you think they're going to trek across thousands of miles to get here to pick them up? So why are we even calling them? This is the stupidest policy I've ever heard of. Ever. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm not smart enough. If that's the case, educate me. Somebody tell me. Because I don't get it. I don't grasp it. Why are we making phone calls for any person coming to our border and coming across illegally? Who are we calling? You take them, put them on a bus, and roll the bus in the direction of their home. I don't understand. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. The next utterly ridiculously stupid thing that he said is that immigration always has higher numbers in the winter months. Now, I don't know about you. I've met a few immigrants, legal and illegal. Never once have I talked to an illegal immigrant, or a legal immigrant for that matter, and had them tell me that the time of month or time of year dictated when they came to this country. Never. I haven't, ever. And I know that's anecdotal. Question of the day. Anybody out there has the season or the weather or the time of year ever dictated that the timing of when you or somebody you know has migrated to this country or another country for that matter, but specifically this country I'd like to keep it to. So that is the question of the day. Has the season or time of year ever dictated the migration of you, a loved one, or a friend that you know personally in coming to America? Let me know below. Tweet me, Facebook me, hit me up on TikTok for all I care. Let me know. I want to know. So here's what he had to say about immigration during the winter time.
Okay. How about Yamish?
Thanks so much, Mr. President. You've said over and over again that immigrants shouldn't come to this country right now. This isn't the time to come. That message is not being received. Instead, the perception of you that got you elected as a moral, decent man is the reason why a lot of immigrants are coming to this country and entrusting you with unaccompanied minors. How do you resolve that tension? And how are you choosing which families can stay and which can go, given the fact that even though with Title 42, there are some families that are staying? And is there a timeline for when we won't be seeing these overcrowded facilities run by CPB when it comes to unaccompanied minors?
Well, look, I guess I should be flattered people are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening. That I'm a decent man, or however it's phrased. That, that's why they're coming, because Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration. It happens every single solitary year. There is a significant increase in the number of people coming to the border in the winter months of January, February, March.
I can't do it with this guy. I don't think I'll last 4 years with Joe Biden as president. So then he moved on, and he was talking about, and I don't even know what he was talking about, honestly. He just went off on some little tirade about how long he had been in the political scene. And again, it's hard to tell if his gaffes are truly gaffes or if they're set up, or if he knew what he was doing, was kind of playing trolling, if you will. It's hard to tell. I don't think he was trolling, because I don't think he's intelligent enough to know what trolling is. But he specifically said that he had been in the Senate for 120 years. So here, take a look.
Filibuster. Filibuster. With regard to the filibuster, I believe we should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago.
There you have it, folks. Your president of these United States, Joe Biden. Anyway, this next gaffe, I am most certain, was not meant. I'm most certain that he did not mean to say it. I think that he did exactly what he has done 100 times over in the last year or two, and that is, he said the quiet part out loud. This is what he had to say.
And then on a related note, have you decided whether you are going to run for re-election in 2024? You haven't set up a re-election campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss him.
On behalf of 75 million people who voted in the 2020 election, Joe, we all agree we miss Trump too. I don't think he meant to say it. I think he let it slip. It's a fraudulent slip. Fraudulent slip. You say one thing and you mean your mother. That is what I think he did. The great thing about this press conference is you get to watch the decline in person if you're watching. And I encourage you all to go out, waste the hour, and watch the entire press conference in its entirety. Because you'll see that I'm not clipping things. I'm not taking things out of context. I mean, this is what was said. But I encourage you to go watch it, because you should know everything that's said. And I've of course not, I've not included everything, because I'm not going to sit here for an hour and force anybody to watch this. I take the clips that are most important into what I'm talking about, and that's what I do. So I encourage you all to waste the hour and go watch it. He couldn't even answer directly on whether or not he was going to run for re-election in 4 years. He couldn't even figure it out. I don't grasp it. Like, how completely demented are you that you don't know what you're gonna? And he tried to make an excuse of, well, I don't plan that far ahead. You should. As the president of the United States, you should be planning all the way ahead. Like, you should be planning ahead. You should have an A, B, C, and D strategy for ahead. This is Joe Biden on whether or not he's going to run for re-election.
You also just made some news by saying that you are going to run for re-election.
I said that is my expectation.
So is that a yes, that you are running for re-election?
Look, I don't know where you guys come from, man. I've never been able to travel. I'm a great respecter of fate. I've never been able to plan 3.5 years ahead for certain.
So, Joe, you gonna run for re-election in 4 years? I ain't seen a re-election campaign. Listen, man, like, I don't need to know if I'm gonna run. You should know if I'm gonna run. Yeah, that's cool, but are you gonna run for re-election? Is Kamala gonna be on your ticket? Well, I mean, I would think so. That's a plan. That's a plan, but I don't even know what I'm eating for breakfast, man. Joe, it's lunchtime. You already had breakfast. Ah, crap. Did I eat breakfast? That's what it's like having this guy as the president. Welcome to 2021, motherfuckers. Yeah. So, next, he talked about guns. And this is where they should have talked about guns at the very beginning, because that was at his peak. He was drugged. He was coherent. He was normal. They waited until he was already pretty much falling down at this point before they mentioned the most important part of the press conference. But this is when they happened to mention it, and he was pretty delusional. So he was asked a specific question. He was asked a specific question about guns. And he answered about transportation. You couldn't write this stuff. Take a look.
As you've all observed, successful presidents, better than me, have been successful in large part because they know how to time what they're doing, order it, decide in priorities what needs to be done. The next major initiative is, and I'll be announcing it Friday in Pittsburgh in detail, is to rebuild the infrastructure, both physical and technological infrastructure of this country, so that we can compete and create significant numbers of really good paying jobs. Really good paying jobs. And some of you have been around long enough to know that used to be a great Republican goal or initiative. I still think the majority of the American people don't like the fact that we are now ranked, 85th in the world in infrastructure. I mean, look, the future rests on whether or not we have the best airports that can accommodate air travel, ports that you can get in and out of quickly, so businesses decide. Some of you, if you're ever local reporters, and you found your governor or mayor trying to attract business to your community, what's the first thing the business asked? What's the closest access to an interstate highway? How far am I from freight rail? Is the water available? Is enough water available for me to conduct my business? All the things that relate to infrastructure. We have somewhere, I asked the staff to write it down for me, and they did, not for this, but for a longer discussion. We have somewhere in terms of infrastructure, we rank 13th globally in infrastructure. China is investing 3 times more in infrastructure than the United States is. Bridges, more than 1/3 of our bridges, 231,000 of them, need repairs. Some are physical safety risks or preservation work. 1 in 5 miles of our highways and major roads are in poor condition. That's 186,000 miles of highway. Aviation, 20% of all flights weren't on time, resulting in 1.5 million hours lost in production. 6 to 10 million homes in America still have lead pipes servicing their water lines.
So, Joe, What kind of executive orders or laws can we expect for gun reform? Well, man, like, listen, have you ever gotten on a plane? Have you ever gotten on a plane? Well, yeah, guns aren't allowed on planes. Okay, so are we going to see some sort of like enforcement of more executive orders or laws? Like, try driving down the road, man. It's bumpy out there. There's a lot of potholes. We got to fix those. And the wait times for airplanes. Have you ever been in an airport? It's forever, man. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, but like, what about guns? Yeah, man. What about airplane hangars? They should be, built bigger and better. Build back better. That's Joe Biden, 2020, 8/17, 52. But guns. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Malarkey. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how nobody sees this. Nobody. Everybody on the left. Just. How do you not see that he didn't say anything about guns in the response about guns? I give up. And then when he ended, he tried to style jack a page out of Donald Trump's playbook by, Donald Trump, he was big on, he would make these grand speeches and he'd get everybody all riled up, and he was like a comedian. In comedy, that is what your ultimate goal is you get the crowd to the highest point of entertainment, and then you leave. You never want to leave lower than your highest point. And that's what he tried to do, except none of his press conference was his highest point because it was all gibberish. But he tried. He was that comedian that was like, he told a joke and everyone was, ha ha, and he goes, oh my God, everybody's the loudest they've been all night. And I'm out. Mic drop. Walk off the stage. That's what he tried to do. I don't think it worked for him. Take a look.
But I'm ready to work with any Republican who wants to help solve the problem or make the situation better. But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, over the last couple of weeks, we have had a couple of shooting incidences, and I know that these are, both of these are old news in the news cycle here because, everything that's going on, the news cycle is just keeps going. But this is, unfortunately, a rerun, a remake of what should have been last week's episode. So bear with me. The shooting of the spas and massage parlors in Atlanta, Georgia, by the gentleman who had a lot of mental issues. In my opinion, probably should never have had a gun, from what I've heard anyway. And he was having a bad day, what they classified as a bad day. Clearly, he's going to have a bad life now. And then, of course, the Boulder, Colorado grocery store shooting with the gentleman, something, Muhammad guy. And I don't say that in any kind of stereotypical thing. His name is of Middle Eastern descent. He's reported to have ties with ISIS, and so of course that nixed the white supremacy from the leftist narrative. They are not allowed to do anything other than white supremacy. So as soon as it was reported that he was not a Caucasian man, that he was Syrian, and that he had possible ties to ISIS, they don't mention him at all anymore. So those two shootings happened, and I'm not going to go into any detail because everybody pretty much knows all the detail, but I will say that this is what prompted the new Gun Reform Now hashtag to go around social media and prompted all these little leftist anti-gun people to come out of the woodwork. Let's talk about what they won't talk about as opposed to what they do talk about. So they talked about the Atlanta shooting because it was a white guy, and they could push that narrative of white people kill people. They didn't talk about Boulder after they found out he was Syrian. Let's see what else they don't talk about. They don't talk about the Minnesota shooting. There was a Minnesota shooting back in February, I believe it was, and it was classified as a mass shooting, which by definition a mass shooting is 4 or more people shot, injured, killed by another person. This was I think 7, and you'll have the overlay, so if I'm wrong, just read the overlay because that's the correct answer. I believe it was 7. It was in a hospital, and the man turned out to not be white. He turned out to be a Native American. I think that's what the political correct term would be now. I don't know. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments what is a Native American person's new name that we need to call them to not get banned. There was also a shooting in, I believe, January of 2021, this year, that was in Chicago. Killed a lot of people. Media doesn't talk about it because it was gang violence, and it was a black gang and another black gang killing each other. So they don't want to talk about that. It's almost as if, call me crazy, if it's not a white perpetrator killing other minorities, because they don't even talk about the white on white crime. They only talk about white on black, white on Latino, white on Native American, white on Asian. They don't talk about black on black, black on white, black on Latino even. So, call me crazy, but I think you see where we're going with this. Now, to the hashtag gun reform now, this really irked me, and I'm gonna pull this up here. This really irked me because it was fairly stupid for some of these idiots that said on social media, these leftists, they tried to conflate purchasing an AR-15 being harder than other things, and everybody inserted different things to try and prove that it was easier to get an AR-15 than it is to do other things normal in life. Now you have the first one, which was what started it all, was the easier to get an AR-15 than to vote. Prominent people specifically said, why is it easier to get an AR-15 than it is to vote? You don't have to wait hours in line to get a gun. You're right. You might not have to. I know some people that do wait hours in line to get a gun, but you're right. You don't have to. But you also don't get a gun mailed to you in your mailbox for just simply stating that you wanted to own a gun, like you do voting. All you have to do is register to vote and say, hey, I want to be able to vote legally, and they send you a ballot in the mail, in 2020. That's what the vast majority of votes were supposedly in 2020 for this particular presidential election that we just ended. So, yeah. If you believe that it's easier to get an AR-15 than it is to vote, then you, sir, are an idiot. Yeah, it's not. In order to get an AR-15, there are some things that you have to do, and in order to vote, you don't have to do much. In order to vote, you go down to your local tag office or your election county commission, and you fill out a piece of paper, and you hand it to them. And then a couple of weeks later, you're registered. That's it. That's all you have to do. To get an AR-15, you have to go to a certified dealer. You have to pay a lot of money, because AR-15s aren't cheap. You in a vast majority of states, you have to have a license. Now, some states, like my state, you don't have to have a license to carry a firearm. As long as you're legally allowed to own one, you have that right. Some states, you do have to have a license. You have to have a license to carry that firearm outside of your home. Now, if you say you don't want to carry it, you just want it for home defense. Okay, this is the steps that you have to take in every state in the United States. You have to go to a dealer that is licensed and certified. You have to pay the money. You have to fill out a application for the background check. They'd run a nationwide background check. Now, that covers felonies, violent misdemeanors, mental health, histories of mental health. It asks you specifically if you have been diagnosed with any kind of mental health disorder. And it asks specifically about drug use. So, you have to do that. They do the background check. Then, depending on name, background status, age, which age plays a big factor in it, and your name, just your name could cause you to have a specific wait period. Okay? Now, that's just bare minimum. Bare minimum if you want to take it home, stick it in your closet, your gun safe, whatever, and never touch it unless somebody kicks your door in and says that they want to rob you. Now, in the vast majority of states, if you want to carry that gun outside of your home, into your car, or into your outside life, you not only have to do all of that stuff that we already covered, but you have to take a class, and it's usually 8 hours of actual class knowledge, and you have to qualify at a shooting range, live fire, in front of a cleat certified instructor. Okay? Then, once you get the certificate saying that you did both of those, you have to go to your local police department or sheriff's department. You have to get a background check. You have to pay for that background check. It's usually like $20. You have to go to your local police or sheriff's office and get fingerprinted. That's usually another $20 that you have to pay for. You take those. You also download the application or get the application mailed to you. You fill it out. You send that in with the money that it costs for the license. They do a nationwide and Interpol, which is international, And if you pass those, then you get a license to carry your gun outside of your home. Now, in some states, like my state, Arizona, Oklahoma, these states, you don't have to do that. You don't have to have a license. It's constitutional carry. That, I think, is how all of the country should be. Because in the amount of time that it takes you to do all of that, say you live in, I don't know exactly what states. I would say probably Georgia. Probably you have to have a license, I assume, to carry your gun. All of that time that it took you to do all of that just so you could carry your gun outside your home to defend yourself in case somebody tries to carjack you, mug you, attack you, rape you, shoot you, stab you for that matter. I could have voted 100 times in this last presidential election. So standing in line, waiting a couple of hours to vote, doesn't nullify the days, weeks, months that it takes to be able to get an AR-15 and carry it. You are an idiot. So, the next one on the list was healthcare. This one I thought was particularly funny because it takes 10 seconds to get healthcare. I mean, on a basic level. So anyway, this Joseph Harrison guy said, the scary thing is that it's probably easy to get a gun license and actual gun than basic health care. I lived in the U.S. twice and seen guns are like our groceries. Really scary. Yeah, again, rewind the 5 or 8 minute rant that I just went on. It takes months and months and months and months and months to be able to get a license to carry and a gun and be able to carry in public in most states. I could literally go online right now and get healthcare in 10 minutes. Most likely without even having to pay a down payment or anything like that. You're an idiot, Joseph. Don't be like Joseph. Anyway, so the next one was another comical one. This was textbooks. A person with the name Registered Republican on Twitter said it's easier for kids to get a gun than a textbook. I spent almost $2,000 for my daughter's college books, yet I could get an AR-15 for half the price only in America. Registered Republican at @R_Republican, whatever your name is. I hope you're watching this, and I am going to tag you on Twitter for this particular segment of the show. I beg you. I beg you. Show me where you're getting an AR-15 for $1,000 or less. Show me. Because I will go, and I'm going to go on. You'll see the overlay. I am going to go on. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do that on the show. Behind the paywall, when I talk about the HR 127, I'm going to go back to this. And I am going to also go online live and try and find an AR-15, an actual AR-15, not some BS that some, Yahoo is trying to sell on Facebook. I want actual licensed dealers. I'm going to try and find an AR-15 for $1,000 or less. I don't think it'll happen. I've never seen it. In all the years of buying guns, I've never seen an AR-15, an actual AR-15 from a dealer for less than or $1,000 ever. Never, never, ever, never. Comment of the day. If you know where to get an AR-15 for $1,000 or less, comment down below. Tag me on Facebook. send it to me on Twitter, hit me up on TikTok, catch me on Rumble, wherever you can get me. Send it by mail if you have to. I want to know where you can get an AR-15 for $1,000 or less. I haven't found one for anything less than about $1,500 or $1,800. So if you can find one for $1,000 or less, an actual AR-15 from a licensed dealer, not some bull from some yahoo on Facebook or Craigslist trying to sell his guns because he needs rent money. Actual dealer, go show me. Anyway, now the next one was a car. This particular person, Rick Woods at rwoods67, said a gun owner should have to go through a similar process as a car owner, pass a written test, an operator test, maintain a license, registration, inspection, and insurance for each weapon. I would also add a mental aptitude exam and a criminal background check. Rick! So glad you talked about this, sir. So, criminal background check. Already done. Insurance? How many people drive with no insurance, bruh? I mean, just going by your thing here. Okay, inspection. We haven't had car inspections in 2 decades, bruh. You're a little bit behind times. Registration. We already kind of have that because when you buy a gun, they do it with your name and the serial number of the gun. So while we don't have necessarily registration where you have to register, if you were to like sell the or give the firearm to like a family member, you're right. I'm not a fan of registration because I think that is a lot of red tape that doesn't need to be done. Because if I, as a common sense person, if I sell my gun to say my brother, I would write out a bill of sale and make him sign it so that if he were to go out and kill somebody with that gun and they come back and they say, we ran the serial number of the gun that killed this person and you were the person that originally bought it, I can say, nope, pull out a bill of sale, I sold it to this person, this is their signature saying that they bought it, and then they can go on and talk to somebody else about that. Call me crazy, I think that it should be the responsibility of the gun owners and not the responsibility of the government to dictate what is done with my gun. Maintain a license. You have to maintain a license in the vast majority of states. There are only like 4 or 5 states that have constitutional carry. Other than that, every other state that allows you to carry a gun outside of your home, you have to maintain a license. Every I believe it's 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, I think. I can't remember. Let me know in the comments below whether or not that was right or if it's something else. But you do have to maintain a license. If you don't maintain that license and it expires, or you do something that license would be null and void, you still go to jail if you're caught with a gun. So, good job, Rick. You're a moron. Operator test. In order to get said license, you do have to qualify in front of a licensed instructor. So, good job, Rick. You're a dumbass. Written test. You do, in fact, have to pass a written test to get said license in all the states that you have to have a license for. Some things that you can't do with guns that you can do with cars. You can take your car and drive to the next state over and not have to change your information over. If you take your car and you move from, say you live in Oklahoma like I do, and you wanted to move to, say, Kentucky, you drive there and you don't have to re-register your vehicle there. I do with my gun. If I go into another state, I have to register. I have to change my license. You don't necessarily have to, depending on certain standards. So, Rick Woods, Woods 67, you are the dumbass of the week. Congratulations. I will send you a big fuck off. The next one was birth control. This was from a jackass named Judy, at Judy Hager, Hager11. Male-dominated legislature make it easier to get an AR-15 than birth control. Okay. No, not at all, Judy. So, in order to get a gun, I have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I have to take tests. I have to pass background checks. I have to get fingerprints. I have to do lots of things. I have to prove that I'm not mentally unstable. I have to prove that I'm a law-abiding citizen. To get birth control, you simply have to walk into a health department, sit on a chair, spread your legs, let somebody touch your hoo-hoo for a few minutes, and then give you a prescription. You take that prescription to said pharmacy and get very cheap, if not completely free, birth control. Because most states have a birth control plan where they get prescription birth control for very, very cheap, low income, and no income, zero, free, completely free birth control. Now, while yes, it is very easy to get birth control, it's very difficult for you morons to take it correctly. That's why you have birth control children that you then go and get aborted because you're pieces of trash. So, it's not easier to get an AR-15 than it is to get birth control. I have an ex-wife and a current wife now that both had birth control and both had zero issues getting it. You're an idiot, Judy. I will tag you in this as well. You're a moron. I hope to God that you gain just a minuscule more of knowledge before you make yourself look stupid on Twitter. And the last one is my particular favorite, and that is Nick at Moscow. Nick at Moscow 1 is his screen name. It's at Covert ZY. I don't know how he got Nick at Moscow from Covert ZY. He has some communist stuff going on there, so I assume that he's an idiot. He said, let's be real though, if you ever do get in a situation where someone breaks into your house, you'd be dead if that were their intention. I'm going to stop you right there, Nick at Moscow. There's no statistical evidence to back up what you just said. And if they're breaking into your house, I don't know anybody that's like, hey, we're going to break into this house, okay? But if the guy comes out, you're not going to touch him. Like, he could beat your ass because we broke into his house. You don't touch him, okay? Don't be mean. Don't be mean. We're not mean people. We're burglars, okay? I don't know anybody that does that. If somebody breaks into my house, I can only assume that their intention is to hurt me. I can only assume that their intention is to harm me or my family and take my possessions that I work for. So, A, you're an idiot. Then he goes on to say, B, if that were their intention, a pistol is quicker to draw than an AR-15 and more quiet, like clanking metal parts. Nick, you sound like an idiot. You sound like somebody who's never touched a gun. You sound like somebody who's only seen guns in Die Hard movies. Okay? So, you said a pistol is quicker to draw. Not necessarily, okay? My pistol, I have two of them, and they are just as easy to draw as my rifle is. They really don't sound any different as far as the racking mechanism go. The only difference is that my rifle is slightly quieter because of the fact that I don't have to do a whole lot with it. It's already kind of there. So, and then he goes on to say that a pistol is easier to shoot, which is completely retarded because a pistol is not always easier to shoot. Have you shot a 50 cal Desert Eagle? That is a lot harder to shoot than a 223 Armalite rifle. So Nick definitely gets the retard of the day, and I truly hope that he never has children, because he should not pass on the ridiculously stupid genes that he has right now. So that was the Twitter of the week. That's what that was. So now I'm going to do just a quick overview of the HR 127, and I'm going to pull it up here because I have an overlay for it, but I don't want to try and read the overlay while it's going. So I'm going to go through here and read it as the overlay is going. So HR 127, and this is the licensing portion of the firearms. It says, the Attorney General, through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, shall establish a system for licensing possession of firearms or ammunition in the United States. Required information. Under the firearms registration system, the owner of the firearm shall transmit to the Bureau the make, model, serial number of the firearm, identity of the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored, a notice specifying the identity of any persons to whom and any period of time during which the firearm will be loaned to another person. That I think is ridiculous, because it's nobody's business where my firearm is going to be, because it's my firearm. Okay, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Nobody forces us to dictate where our car is going to be. When you get a vehicle, I've never had to tell the state or the federal government where my car will be, or if I loan my car to somebody. And a car is a luxury. A gun is a right, an inalienable right, God-granted right. So it also says a general license, except as otherwise provided in the subsection, Attorney General shall issue an individual a license to possess firearm and ammunition if the individual is at least 21 years or older. After applying for the license, undergoes a criminal background check conducted by the National Instant Criminal Background Check System established under Section 103 of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, and the check does not indicate that the possession of a firearm by the individual would violate subsection G or N of Section 922. They also must undergo a psychological evaluation conducted in accordance with paragraph 2, and the evaluation does not include the individual is psychologically unsuited to possess a firearm. Successful completion of training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms that includes at least 24 hours of training demonstrates that on issuance of the license, the individual will have in effect an insurance policy issued under subsection D. Now, yeah. Do you know how many people drive without insurance? And that's been a law for I don't know how long. How many people drive without a license, without insurance? I don't think the gun owning is going to be any different, bruh. Now, a little bit further down, it says military-style weapons. The Attorney General shall issue an individual license to own and possess military-style weapons if the individual is the holder of a license. After applying for a license and undergoing another training and live fire for 24 hours, psychological evaluation is conducted in accordance with paragraph. If the evaluation is conducted in compliance with such standards and shall be established by the Attorney General, the evaluation is conducted by a licensed psychologist approved by the Attorney General. Scroll on down here. This is what gets me. As a part of the psychological evaluation, the licensed psychologist interviews any spouse of the individual, any former spouse of the individual, and at least 2 other persons who are a member of the family or associate of the individual to further determine the state of mental, emotional, or relational stability of the individual in relation to firearms. That is very dangerous. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so I am a law-abiding citizen. I have been married, divorced, and now I am married again to another person. Now, this is not my situation, but I'm going to use my situation because I can only use my situation. I don't know anybody else's. So, say I got married, we were together, we got a divorce. Now, for whatever reason, she didn't like me anymore. She hates me. I slept with her sister. I could have done anything. Take your pick. Now, we've divorced. 6 months go by. I go out. I want to buy a gun. Now, under this particular set of standards, they are going to interview her on whether or not I should be given a firearm. That's very dangerous because if I made her mad before we separated, got a divorce, and she wants to hold a grudge, she could legitimately stop me from being able to carry a firearm or own a firearm because she doesn't like me. And vice versa. I'm not saying that only women could do it. Technically, if she wanted to purchase a firearm and I wanted to be petty, I could say all kinds of things about her. And who's to say I'm not just being petty and trying to keep somebody from that? And a lot of people say, oh, well, the psychologist would be able to tell and not take that into consideration as much. Who's to say? Who's to say? Who is to say that that psychologist, who clearly doesn't care for guns, because otherwise they wouldn't be doing this for the government, who's to say they're not going to go, ex-wife said you were a psycho, crazy, schizophrenic person. Check. No, you don't get a gun today. No, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. That's what's going to happen. If you don't think that's what will happen, you are blind, dumb, uneducated, or stupid, or all four. That's what's going to happen. Now, the next set of stuff that I wanted to go through was the, let's see, and again, I'll go through the entire thing in depth behind the paywall, so you'll want to make sure you do that. Okay, so the penalties, it lists section 924A of such title is amended by adding the following and the following. Whoever knowingly violates section 922AA will be fined not less than $75,000, not more than $150,000, and imprisoned not less than 15 years and no more than 25 years, or both. Now, so yeah. So if you break this particular law by owning a firearm without doing said licensing and insurance and all that, you will go to jail, or you could be fined $75,000 to $150,000, or go to jail for 15 to 25 years, or both. So, last thing that I wanted to talk about is the prohibition of possession of certain ammunitions. Okay, so in general, Section 922 of Title 18, United States Code, is amended by Section 2 of this Act, is amended by adding at the end the following. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess ammunition that is 50 caliber or greater, which means 50 cal or bigger, done, no more. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess a large capacity ammunition feeding device. Now, What is that, you say? We go on down here. Large capacity ammunition feeding device defined, section 921A of such title is amended, and section is amended by inserting after paragraph the following. The term large capacity ammunition feeding device means a magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or similar device that has a capacity of, or that can be readily restored or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition, but does not include an attached tubular device designed to accept and capable of operating only with .22 caliber rimfire ammunition. Whoever knowingly violates this section shall be fined not less than $50,000 and not more than $100,000, imprisoned not less than 10 years and not more than 20 years, or both. So, if you don't possess a license, don't keep insurance, you can get fined $75,000 to $150,000, 15 years to 25 years in jail, or both. If you so much as possess a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds, you could be fined $50,000 to $100,000, imprisoned 10 to 20 years, or both. Now, that 15 round magazine, that is the standard magazine for my 9mm Ruger. So, if the standard magazine for my 9mm Ruger is 15 rounds, that means my 9mm Ruger is completely useless, because if the standard magazine is 15 rounds, I can't make it less. My Ruger's useless. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, this will never pass. It might not. But Joe Biden has already stated that he wants to do executive orders. He is pushing the Supreme Court to pass certain laws. And he's pushing H.R. 127. So, you're right. They may never pass this. But that doesn't mean that they're not trying. And if they're trying, that's a problem. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure to check out the merchandise. We got a lot of new stuff. Make sure to use discount code DEMENTIA for free shipping. And make sure that you add me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, follow me. I just joined TikTok. That's a weird thing. TikTok is a weird world, man. But I am on there to share content, so follow me on there. Follow me on Rumble. Make sure to check out the store. Check out all the new merchandise we got. We got a lot of new stuff. You'll see it. Think about getting a membership. Again, $4.99 a month, $49.99 for an entire year. That's half the price of any of the other conservative right-leaning broadcasts that you could find. You also, with an annual membership, you get a free t-shirt. So as soon as you get the annual membership, you hit me up either on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Hit me up, let me know your address and your size, and I will get you a shirt shipped out to you. Also, if you go on Patreon, there is an extra membership that you can get. It's the $69.99 membership, and that gives you the full year. You also get a free t-shirt as well as a free mug or stainless steel tumbler. So make sure you go check that out. And again, right after this, I'm going to do a behind the paywall in-depth look. I'm reading through the entire bill for you. I'm telling you every in and out there. And we're also going to go over some of the shootings that the media is not talking about, and all that good stuff. So make sure that you check out the membership status and get in on that so you don't miss. Make sure on YouTube that you hit subscribe and the bell. you don't want to miss out on any of the new content there as well. I am also going to be doing a giveaway for some law enforcement, so you'll definitely want to be around for that. I will let you know all the information once that gets 100% nailed down. So again, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm banned on Facebook again, go figure. So I need you guys to get the word out there on Facebook because I can't. Until next time, good night and God bless.